What is Substack and can it work for you in the B2B marketing space? Plus, can you repurpose content for Substack and ultimately grow your audience? Spoiler alert, the answer is yes, and you might be quite surprised with the opportunities this platform presents. So, let's take a deep dive into Substack. You're listening to the Content 10x podcast, where it's all about content repurposing. I'm Amy Woods, and I'm here to help you maximize your content and find smart ways to get your message in front of more of the right people, whilst also saving time. Let's get started. Hello and welcome back to the Content 10x podcast. I'm Amy Woods, the founder of Content 10x, and in this episode, I want to take a look at something I've never discussed before on the show, or at least never done a focused episode on, and that's the email newsletter platform Substack. So join me and we'll explore the ways that we can use and repurpose content for Substack. Now, it's always so exciting when a platform really starts to make waves. I love hearing what people are saying and their experiences with platforms, and while Substack has been around since 2017, so it's not new, I'd say it's really only in the past year or two that I've been hearing more noise about it, and I always have a repurposing cap on, so I particularly love discovering the ways that businesses use the platform and how content can be repurposed and maximised for it. So in this episode of the Content 10x podcast, I want to look at what Substack is, how it works particularly in a B2B context, and how to repurpose content for it. Now, before I get to the main content, just to mention, if you want weekly content repurposing tips and advice, guidance, industry updates, inspiring stories, and exclusive news delivered straight to your email inbox, then join hundreds of marketers, business owners, and creators and become a Content 10x insider. So head to content10x.com/newsletter for our weekly newsletter. And on that note, it's really the faithful old newsletter that we're looking at in this episode, because that is fundamentally what Substack is all about. Although it is pushing boundaries, as you're about to hear, but in essence, Substack is an email newsletter platform. In their own words, Substack is an online platform that provides publishing, payment, analytics, and design infrastructure to support subscription newsletters. It allows writers and podcasters, which is super interesting, to send digital newsletters and podcast episodes or audio content directly to subscribers. Now, you can publish your email newsletter and or podcast for free, or you can put it behind a paywall. So that's what makes Substack different to any other email service provider like ActiveCampaign or Aweber. Now, one article I read described the platform as a MailChimp Patreon hybrid, which I really like because it highlights how it basically offers the mailing software and template building capabilities, which are very simple and easy to use, much like MailChimp, but with the added functionality of being able to easily monetize your content with a Patreon-style subscription payment option built in. So let's talk about the money quickly. Now, Substack are very clear that it pays to provide excellent free content, but save your best work for your paying audience. For example, a common model is to send 3 free emails per week, plus 1 special email for paying subscribers, or per month, or whatever suits you. Substack itself makes money by charging creators a 10% commission on their monthly subscription revenue, and there is a credit card fee of 2.9% plus 30 cents charged by Stripe, their payment processor. So that sounds fairly reasonable in terms of how the payments work. The platform has over 1 million paying subscribers who each pay a fee to access the newsletters that they want. Now, that figure came from Substack themselves at the end of 2021, so I imagine it's way over 1 million now. Now, it's a space where journalists, authors, politicians, and even rock stars have found a home. For example, famous author Salman Rushdie has a Substack, so does rocker poet Patti Smith, And the Divide the Room British politician Dominic Cummings even has a newsletter on Substack. So Brits who are listening are probably more than familiar with Dominic Cummings. So the platform is clearly a winner with consumer-facing brands and creators, but that doesn't mean that B2B marketers can't be doing the same and winning on the platform as well, and many are. So when you think there are over 1 million people actually paying to receive newsletters, so the platform are absolutely nailing it from a content perspective. It's also important to note that it's not just written newsletters, there's also Substack for podcasts, which is extremely interesting. So a really, big development in the platform. It provides the ultimate vehicle for repurposing as well. So you can record audio clips or full-length podcast episodes directly onto Substack, or you can upload pre-recorded clips or episodes, and then you can publish your podcast on all major podcasting apps from within the Substack interface. So it basically acts like a podcast host. Super interesting. So you could use it as a podcast platform and to reach your podcasting listeners, or you could simply insert audio content into your newsletter, which provides a new way for your audience to engage with your content. What's a real feature here is that you can engage with your listeners if they are on Substack, and you can email them episodes. I'm sure any podcaster would agree with me when I say that I've always found a downside of podcasting is that you don't know who is listening because that data isn't necessarily available. But if you deliver your audience content on Substack, you can grow a listenership and you know who they are and can communicate via email. Now, Substack for video is currently in beta, and it looks like you'll be able to add videos that people can watch free or paid for, and emails will link to the videos on the platform. So there's loads of repurposing opportunities for video content creators coming soon on Substack, so watch this space with that. Now that provides the perfect segue into some of the many ways to repurpose content for Substack. Here's a few suggestions just to really get you thinking. So firstly, you can repurpose your blog posts into Substack newsletters. We've mentioned before how you can repurpose blog posts into newsletters. It's something that we like to do with the blog posts repurposed from this podcast. There's a really good opportunity here to look for ways to incorporate a paywall aspect too, by providing additional premium content in the emails that don't feature in the blog post. This could be mentioned in the blog post, so you could say, for more on this, subscribe to my newsletter on Substack, and then just explain more about the value people will get if they go ahead and subscribe to the newsletter on Substack. If they're enjoying the blog post anyway, and there's really aligned, clear, higher value content going to come out from your newsletter, then that's a really good call to action. Second, you can repurpose social media engagement into a Substack newsletter or audio clips. What do I mean by this? Well, take topics and conversations about what's happening in your industry that are taking place on social media and turn them into compelling content that answers questions and helps solve problems, and deliver this exclusive content via Substack. Then, of course, there's lots of opportunity for your audio content. So you could add your existing podcast to Substack and embed it into your newsletter. Or you could cut out relevant clips and include those enticing snippets throughout your newsletter, encouraging subscribers to go and listen to the full podcast elsewhere. Something to consider is that you could deliver 100% exclusive audio content as a podcast on Substack if you wanted to do that, or 100% free content, or some exclusive and some free, so a hybrid, a mixture of both. Now, either way, you can be sure to repurpose that audio content into audiograms, tweets, images, image carousel posts, Twitter threads, polls, and more, all with the CTA to subscribe to your Substack for more. Video content can also be ideal for repurposing for Substack. For example, use content from your webinars, live streams, and thought leadership videos, and develop that into written content for your newsletter. And as I mentioned, Substack for video is in beta. There will soon be loads of other opportunities for video content on Substack, that's quite clear. At the time of recording, that's not available. As I mentioned, it's in beta, but continue to check in on this if this sounds interesting to you. Substack also provides repurposing opportunities for your longer form content. Take white papers and research reports and break them up into a series of newsletters, keeping some of the content behind a paywall so that it's only accessible for your paying subscribers. You can then add a clear call to action stating something like, we did an additional study on this and the findings are shared with our email subscribers. So lots and lots of opportunity for content and content repurposing on Substack. And just to wrap up with a great B2B opportunity to mention as well. Now you can research the top writers on Substack who are tackling issues and questions in your industry. And how about approaching them and offering to sponsor their newsletter? So getting you and your content in front of a great, engaged and interested audience that already exists. So just a tip that I'll leave with you there. So there you have it. I do hope you enjoyed today's episode and it has inspired you to look into exploring Substack. And if you're there already, I'd love to hear your tips for making it work for you. So please do share them with us, especially if you're finding ways to really maximize and repurpose existing content with what you are doing on Substack. Now, if you're looking for help with content repurposing, we may be just what you need here at Content 10x. Our end-to-end fully done-for-you content repurposing services help you to maximize your video and audio content. Maybe you have a podcast, a video series, webinars, maybe you have events in person, virtual, hybrid, whatever content you're creating. Please do head to content10x.com/services to learn how we may be able to help you. Also, give us a follow on social media. We're at Content10x on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and please do connect with myself, Amy Woods, founder of Content 10x on LinkedIn. I'm sure you won't find it hard to find me over on LinkedIn. And if you do connect, let me know that you've been listening to the podcast. I'd really appreciate that. So there we have it. All that's left to say is thank you so much for listening to this week's episode, and I'll catch you in the next one.